All right, picture this. It's Sunday morning, bright and early at 7:20. A request came in late Friday night for a massive infrastructure modernization project for a major government institution. And get this, the technical spec is literally 160 pages long. The deadline for the proposal? Monday, exactly at 1700. Now, to actually win this thing, a good design just isn't going to cut it. You absolutely need three things: a reference configuration from a comparable deployment, a signed letter of support from the vendor, and special pricing that is well below standard list. And, oh yeah, you need all three of those by 9 o'clock Monday morning. So let me ask you a question. Who can you call right now on a Sunday morning to actually make that happen?
Welcome to this explainer. I am so incredibly thrilled to guide you through this masterclass on what truly makes a top-tier pre-sales professional. Look, today we're completely reframing how we look at vendor relationships. I want you to forget the old-school idea of abstract networking or just, collecting business cards at events. We're going to look at vendor relationships for what they actually are. They are the essential, life-saving operational infrastructure that you need to survive, to compete, and to ultimately win in the high-stakes pre-sales ecosystem.
Here is our roadmap for today. We're going to kick things off with a Sunday morning test, map out the ecosystem triangle, uncover the 7 values of relationships, reveal a massive hidden distributor advantage, figure out how to manage a multi-vendor portfolio, and then finally, look at moving beyond standard marketing battle cards. So let's jump right into that first one, the Sunday morning test. Let's go back to our opening scenario with that massive 160-page spec. Our pre-sales pro sitting there at 0720 on Sunday basically has 2 paths they can take to solve this crisis, and the contrast is kind of mind-blowing. Path 1 is the passive route. You log into the customer portal, try to build the bill of materials entirely from scratch, submit a standard support request, and basically just cross your fingers hoping somebody replies by Monday. But path 2, that's the connected professionals route. They make 3 highly strategic Sunday morning calls. Call 1 goes straight to the pre-sales director at their distributor, who instantly pulls up a reference architecture they already have on file. Call 2, that's a quick WhatsApp message to the vendor's channel business development manager, who fast-tracks the support letter and special pricing approvals by Sunday night. And call 3 is a quick Zoom sync with a trusted colleague who actually tackled a similar project 18 months ago. Boom. By 21:30 Sunday, the proposal is completely done. Now, the competitor who took path 1, sure, they might have submitted a prettier slide deck, but they had no reference, no vendor letter, and terrible pricing. Listen, waiting passively is just a choice to lose.
So you've got to wonder, why do so many genuinely smart people still choose path 1? Well, it usually comes down to 3 deeply ingrained myths that just hold pre-sales folks back. First up, this belief that vendors will reach out because, hey, they want to win too. The harsh reality? A vendor might be managing hundreds of partners. Naturally, priority goes to the person who calls them first. If you're not calling, you're dropping to the bottom of the list. Second, there's this weird idea that vendor relationships are all about free lunches and demo gear. Come on, that is such a 2005 mindset. Today, a relationship is operational infrastructure. It means getting a Tier 3 technical expert on the phone in 2 hours rather than waiting 3 days. And third, people fear that getting too close to a vendor creates bias. Look, closeness doesn't make you biased. Recommending a product the customer doesn't actually need, that makes you biased. Knowing a vendor inside and out just means you know exactly how to pull the right levers for your customer's benefit.
All right, moving on to our second concept, the ecosystem triangle.
To really leverage these relationships, you've got to understand the playing field. The foundational layer of our triangle here is the vendor. They're the ones building the products, your Cisco's, your Dell's, VMware, Palo Alto. Their partner-facing teams are usually systems engineers or solutions architects. But here's a crucial detail that a lot of people miss. A vendor's technical team size varies wildly depending on your country or region. Some have massive local teams ready to jump right into the trenches with you. Others, they might be critically understaffed and barely able to cover their top 3 accounts. Knowing exactly what capacity your vendor actually has in your local market dictates your entire strategy, whether you should call them directly or if you need to route your requests through the next layer up.
And that brings us to the next layer, the distributor. Now, I see a lot of junior professionals treat distributors as just, inventory logistics, boxes in, invoices out. But that is completely missing the point. Distributors are the critical bridge in the ecosystem. They're the ones coordinating your special pricing requests, they manage the vendor certification programs, and crucially, they have the authority to rapidly escalate your stuck tickets. Plus, as we'll see in a minute, they are massive hubs of real-world field knowledge.
The final layer of the triangle is the reseller, or the system integrator. This is where we operate in pre-sales right at the point of direct customer contact. We're designing the solution, writing the proposal. But think about how this trust flows. The customer trusts the reseller depends heavily on the distributor, and the distributor depends on the vendor. When every single link is strong, everyone wins. But if you, the pre-sales professional, haven't built those connections upward into the distributor and vendor layers, you instantly become the weakest link, and the entire chain breaks right there with you.
Let's move to Section 3, the 7 values of relationships.
Now that we know who the key players are, let's get super concrete. What exactly do these relationships unlock for you in the real world? Well, here are the 7 baseline tools you unlock to compete at a professional level. First up, technical escalation. We're talking bypassing the standard level 1 help desk entirely to reach senior engineers in hours, not days. Second, reference architectures. Getting architectural blueprints from similar deployments, shared securely under NDA. Third, special pricing approvals. Getting your opportunity officially recognized so you secure below-list pricing while your competitors are still sitting in a queue. Fourth, rapidly securing demo hardware and NFR licenses so you can spin up a proof of concept fast. Fifth, market development funds, or MDF. Vendors literally have marketing budgets set aside for things like webinars or case studies. If you aren't tapping into this to boost your visibility, you are absolutely leaving money on the table. Sixth, bringing actual vendor engineers into your high-stakes customer meetings. That totally shifts the competitive dynamic. And finally, number 7, getting into beta programs so you learn about products before the market even sees them. You can't get a single one of these things through a generic portal ticket. You only get them through trust.
Which leads us to Section 4, the hidden distributor advantage.
I really want to highlight what I think is the single most consistently undervalued asset in a pre-sales toolkit. The source material captures this perfectly with this quote. Distributor pre-sales teams know things that are not in any manual. That is pure gold right there. Think about it. A distributor pre-sales engineer is working with dozens of different partner companies, all deploying the exact same products across vastly different environments. They know things you couldn't possibly know alone. They know exactly which firmware release has a hidden memory leak. They know which specific API integration is going to fail before you even attempt it. They have all those little technical workarounds that absolutely never make it onto the official website. If you're only calling your distributor to ask for a pricing sheet, you are literally wasting about 90% of their actual value to you.
Okay, let's shift gears to Section 5, managing multiple vendors.
So we know we need these tight relationships, but here's the reality check. Most of us aren't just selling one single product. We manage multi-vendor portfolios, which means balancing competing products and, frankly, dealing with a ton of vendor pressure. So how do you do this without burning out or spreading yourself too thin? You have to deliberately categorize your vendors into 3 buckets. First, your primary vendors. This is where you invest heavily. Deep technical knowledge, a strong track record of closed projects, and deep relationship roots. Then, secondary vendors. You're familiar with them. Maybe you've done a handful of projects, and you're actively working on developing more depth there. And lastly, opportunistic vendors. You honestly only evaluate and engage with these when a customer specifically asks for them. Having this framework is a lifesaver. It allows you to manage vendor pressure with total honesty. When a vendor asks why you aren't leading with their solution, that baseline of trust allows you to look them right in the eye and say, hey, this opportunity just isn't the right fit for your product. But we've got another project kicking off next month where we are absolutely going to lead with you.
And finally, Section 6, beyond the battle card.
How you speak about your competing vendors is honestly just as critical as how you manage your own. We have got to move beyond the standard battle card. We've all seen them. Every vendor hands you a beautifully formatted PDF telling you exactly why they are vastly superior to the competition. But if you just read global marketing copy verbatim to an experienced customer, you will instantly destroy your credibility. Why? Because those global battle cards are inherently biased, and they completely ignore local realities. A battle card won't tell you that a vendor's local support in your specific city is notoriously terrible, or that they don't hold the local compliance certifications you need. You have to build honest local intelligence. Seriously, the most powerful, trust-building thing you can say in a customer meeting is something like, look, our product is genuinely stronger in this specific area, but honestly, our competitor has the advantage over there. Let's evaluate this based on what your actual business priorities are. Recycled marketing fluff can never, ever substitute for that level of radical honesty.
And hey, if you're looking for a way to actually systematize that honesty, there are some really cool community tools out there. The source material actually highlights an open-source project on GitHub called the Vendor Battle Card Generator. It's specifically built to pull in real win/loss data and actual field feedback, rather than just relying on biased marketing docs. It generates current, highly accurate competitive intelligence based on reality. It's built exactly for pre-sales pros who need the unvarnished truth, not a corporate sales pitch.
Okay, let's tie this whole playbook together by looking at how your relationship management should naturally evolve as you level up in your career. If you're a junior, your approach is usually pretty reactive, and that's okay. Your focus right now is just building that who's who map. Figure out who the channel engineer is, who the BDM is, and use a real active project to break the ice with them. Now, if you're mid-level, you've got to make the shift to being proactive. Don't just call them when the server room is on fire. Set up brief, 15-minute monthly check-ins just to share visibility on your upcoming pipeline. Vendors naturally gravitate toward and spend more time with partners who keep them in the loop. And finally, the senior level. This is highly strategic. A senior pre-sales pro maintains a constantly updated relationship map and knows exactly who holds the real decision-making authority for any given scenario. Whether it's a technical escalation, a pricing discount, or an executive briefing, they route their requests sufficiently and they absolutely never waste a vendor's time.
And that brings us perfectly full circle. Remember that pre-sales pro from the beginning? The one who made those 3 magical calls on Sunday morning at 7:20 and basically saved the massive government project? They weren't just incredibly lucky. They were tapping into an operational infrastructure that they had deliberately built, call by call, project by project, over several years. They nurtured those distributor and vendor relationships when there wasn't a crisis, so the infrastructure was rock solid and ready when the crisis inevitably hit. So the ultimate question I want to leave you with today is this. Are you going to sit there passively, hoping your portal ticket gets answered and just waiting for Monday? Or are you going to pick up the phone and start building your operational infrastructure today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I absolutely can't wait to guide you through our next topic.